Good afternoon YouTube, my name's Rob Pollard and I'm the developer for Sojour, the solo VTT. This is going to be a short video on Fog of War, yet another Fog of War video, but this one's going to provide some updates on what's been changed thanks to your feedback. So thank you for providing the feedback. As I've always said, the more feedback I get the better, and I generally take all feedback on board, and where I can I try to incorporate it into Sojour. So what's changed with Fog of War? Essentially we now have a concept of whether or not tokens affect the fog or not, and this is based on the token type. So if we open up the manual and you look at this table here, so if you drag a character to the map, they will always affect the fog by default. So that means by affecting the fog, that means they'll clear the fog when you move them. Tokens from the token palette do not affect the fog by default. So if you were to move one of these, the fog would remain. Static campaign assets, because Sojour treats those as part of the map, they don't affect the fog either, but if you make them non-static, they do. Now you don't have to worry, because these are default settings, because one of the other new features of Sojour is you can actually toggle them on and off. So if you look at this map, we got some characters. We got Garion, we got Cora, and we got a goblin who was dragged here from the palette. And if we were to turn on Fog of War right now, what you should see is these two will clear the fog, but the goblin won't. There you go. And that's quite handy, because in most games you don't want the opposing monsters to clear the fog, because you want a certain level of secrecy in their movement. Now of course, to move him around, you're going to have to put on your mouse preview so you can see him, and then you can sort of drag him around where you want to drag him, and when you drag him he won't be affecting the fog at all. So that's like secret movement. However, each of these tokens, regardless of the type, you can right click on them, provided fog is enabled for the map, and what you'll see is a new option called Effects Fog of War, and its default settings is per that table I showed you earlier, but for example Cora, I could turn it off for her, so that when I right click on her again you see it's off. And what you'll find is if I were to drag Cora into the fog, you'll see that she won't affect the fog at all. And in fact, you could use that for, I guess, your stealth characters. So then you put on the torch, and then they're kind of sneaking through without actually revealing anything. So you could use it for that. And of course, at any point, if you want to suddenly reveal her, you just toggle that back on, and then she starts affecting the fog. And it's the same with the monsters as well. So if we shine the torch so we can see where he is, there's the goblin, so we can just right click, Effects Fog of War on, and all of a sudden he's affecting the fog. And you can do that presumably when they first get seen. So when the monsters aren't seen, the fog remains around them, and then as soon as they're seen by your characters, you can reveal them like this. So yeah, really good mechanism, and this was provided by a customer on YouTube, so thank you for your feedback, because I think this is an excellent feature. So going hand in hand with this, the other thing that the system does is, obviously with tokens coming off the palette now being now not affecting fog by default, what Sojour will do, if you initiate a drag from the palette, it will automatically turn on the torch and put it on medium, and then when you're finished it will revert the torch to what you last set it to. So for example, if I was to start dragging this goblin onto the map, see the torch automatically came on, and that enables you to accurately place him. So you know, you might want to place him there by the stairs, and as soon as you drop him, the torch turns off or goes back to its previous settings. It just makes it a lot easier. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, to start moving him around, you'll need to reactivate the torch, and then you can start moving him like this. So yeah, it's a pretty good system in that it gives you a lot more flexibility as to what's affecting fog or war and what isn't, all at the right click of a button. Now what I will say is that particular menu option will not show if there's no fog on the map. So if we turn fog off, the option goes away because it is kind of pointless. It's only when the map in question has fog enabled, then you get the option to turn fog war on and off. And that's it. I mean, there are numerous other enhancements and bug fixes, but you'll need to look at the blog post and the release notes, but this is the main one. And again, thank you for your feedback. If I didn't get any customer feedback, I wouldn't have known to incorporate this piece of functionality. And as I've said earlier, I think it's an excellent piece of functionality, which I think we're all going to benefit from. So that's it. As I said, short video. Thank you for watching and goodbye.